Well, hello, this is Hall Martin with Investor Connect. Today we're here with Adam Draper of Boost VC. Adam, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the VC game?
Yes, I can. Again, my name's Adam Draper. I am the founder and managing director of Boost VC, where we invest in sci-fi related technologies, focused primarily on crypto, VR. We've been in the spaces for about 5.5 years. And I'm the host of a podcast also called the Boost VC Podcast. And how I got in was I'm a fourth generation venture capitalist. So that means that my great grandfather was a venture capitalist and my grandfather and my dad. And they all added different elements to the entire venture capital ecosystem. My grandfather was actually one of the earliest. My great grandfather was like one of the first VCs, period. My grandfather was one of the earliest VCs out in the Silicon Valley area. He actually worked with my great grandfather. Then he also founded the first fund in India. And then my dad created the first network of venture capital funds globally, where at its peak had about 27 different micro funds all over the world, which was it was called DFJ, the DFJ network. And then what I did was I realized that entrepreneurs are everywhere, based off of sort of that understanding. But Silicon Valley has a really, really great infrastructure and network that people can get hooked into. And so what we do at Boost VC is we actually have a program we run twice a year where we provide housing, office space, and investment to 20 to 25 startups twice a year, where people can get hooked into this Silicon Valley network. And it's a specialized network of crypto, VR, and sort of the Silicon Valley area.
So you look for VR and crypto, but you also tune it to the phrase of sci-fi. What exactly are you looking for when you bring companies into your accelerator and funding? What decides who's in and who's out?
So at the end of the day, like what the technologies that we say, sci-fi, crypto, virtual reality, the reason we've chosen these sort of future-facing technologies is not so much about the technology. It's more about solving the biggest problems with the latest technology. It actually has, in a lot of ways, nothing to do with the actual fundamental technology. I just want people who are coming in who are really excited and want to change the world. And in order to do that, we've identified these technologies as two of many technologies where people just want to change the world and have the ability to. Suddenly, crypto is changing the way that finance works. VR is the next level of computing platform. We wanted to invest in the next 10 years, not the last 10. That's sort of what it is. But what gets someone in is I'm a sucker for overly optimistic human beings. Like if you boil every single person that we've backed down to something, it would be they want to change the world for the better and it's a big vision. And they are just like excitable human beings. And that's where I get really pumped because I want to live in their world that they're going to be designing for us.
Well, I'm a big fan of crypto and especially blockchain and the possibilities that it brings, and it certainly fits that thesis you brought up. When you look at crypto in specific or blockchain in general, what do you look for as an initial read on this is going to be something big?
So we were the first Bitcoin fund. So 5 years ago, we jumped into the crypto space. We've backed about 90, what we called them then Bitcoin related, but now it's crypto startups. So we have one of the largest portfolios of crypto in the space based off of projects and companies. And what we've always been looking for are people who are trying to solve real world problems and then the other thing is get these technologies to market. So you need to figure out scale and usability. Bitcoin was really, really great for the store of value and cross-border transfer of money. That's sort of what I think Bitcoin itself was very great for. Ethereum has been able to build these new level smart contracts that allow for people to fundraise globally, for you to create scarcity of digital assets on the internet. And those are very, very exciting for larger facing consumer adoption to use these very complex cryptocurrency based assets. And then it's really just about scale. Like we want to be solving problems not only for people who are tech forward and early adopters, we want to solve the problems globally for everyone who has banking issues or everyone who isn't sort of in a So the United States, for all intents and purposes, has a pretty good banking system. And we think about our own situations, but globally, that's not fully true. The Argentina experiences inflation every month that's upwards of like 20%. Venezuela has a horrible capital control system on their country. And globally, like this is a common story. If you unlock that sort of border system and you just think, hey, there are a lot of people who don't have bank accounts, this is the technology that's not only going to leapfrog what they were currently using, which is normally like storing money in mattresses or using some friend to hold their money. This is actually they're going to be the adopters of this. They're actually going to lead the charge in this next generation, I think.
So, what do you think are the most promising sectors in the blockchain space to go after? There's quite a few ICOs out there changing the world, but it's becoming harder for investors to find the right thesis because there's just so many of them now. What do you look for?
Again, like great people. At the end of the day, like you want to be working with fantastic people who are trying to change the world. I would say, yes, we have categories that we think that decentralized services actually add value to. And some of those are things like, these privacy tokens are fantastic. Governance tokens are really, really interesting. I think what we're doing on like a rapid prototyping basis, or all of these tokens, are new ways of governing communities. And I think that's one of the most exciting things to be investing in. We backed one called Aragon it's a governance-based token. And we're like really excited about just how do you govern a not only decentralized, but distributed team? How do you make an organization that's unstoppable globally? Like there are a lot of these bigger questions that are being answered. Other than that, like the opportunities would completely be about adoption from the average human being, not from the tech forward person, like I was saying before. Like I think CryptoKitties is like a fantastic use case. It's the first time. So cryptocurrency is the first time with Ethereum, you are able to create scarcity on the internet. Before, if I had a picture of myself on the internet, there are infinite numbers of that picture. But now through the blockchain, I can verifiably prove that there is one digital asset. And that's what CryptoKitties was an example of. And I think we're going to see so many of that behavior in the next year, 2 years, that it's going to be so exciting. And people are going to be using crypto without thinking they're using crypto. It's going to be like, yeah, I think that's a cute dog on the internet, and I want to buy that AI dog.
Well, it certainly has a possibility of giving users control back on their data, their identity, and so many things that have been just unleashed into the cyber wild. And that's got a lot of promise as well. But to go back to governance, what exactly is a governance token?
All of these tokens are governance tokens technically, because what you do, like, it's like the Constitution of the United States Constitution was the original like governance blockchain. What they did was set a parameter of rules that this entire community of 300 million people right now lives by. And the amendments were like hard forks where you're like, okay, well, except for this. That is how governance will work. And what we're doing is rapidly prototyping a bunch of different constitution models in technology globally. And so suddenly, like, Tezos has an elastic governance system where you can proxy your vote to other people. Bitcoin has a the proof of work-based governance model, which is how every miner gets a vote, basically. So the workers get the vote. All of these things are different incentives mechanisms in order to create voting systems inside of a community or a nation, but it's a digital nation. That's what I'm excited about, is just like more people rapidly prototyping more governance structures to figure out what works. And those tools are being developed now, not only with these cryptos, but like Aragon is my example right now of a governance token.
So the market is maturing pretty rapidly, but a lot of people draw parallels between today's crypto world and 1994 and the dot-com era. It seems like both were at the early stages, and there are a lot of similarities between them and also a lot of dissimilarities. How would you characterize today's world with blockchain and crypto and liken or disliken it to what was happening in 1994 in the run up to the dot-com boom and bust.
Okay, I'm going to undate myself by saying I was 6 years old in 1994. But running up to the bust, I do remember when I was early in high school, the bust happening. What I'll say that the analogy is used quite a bit where with the internet, where there's obviously value there, but because no one quite understands what the value is yet, the prices are being inflated. I agree with that. I actually think that, so if the general consensus of the world is that there is a powerful element there, there's a technology that is going to change the world, and the less that people know about it and understand it, the higher amount of risk they're willing to take for fear of missing out or FOMO. And so I think a lot of this has been driven by a lot of people who are really excited about the overarching technology, but they're moving in and out of the currencies and we'll see what happens. This is the next layer of the internet. So what this has that the internet did not is global internet adoption. That's what it has. And that's why things are moving at such a faster rate, is because people commonly understand how the internet's communication layer works. So suddenly we can actually add value faster than we were laying the wires to connect the internet during the run up from 94 to or 92 to 99. That's what I would say. I would say the difference, we have global internet adoption. The not difference is that humans want to participate in things that are going to change the world. And the internet obviously has changed the entire world in a way that you cannot put the cat back in the bag. And crypto has those elements that are completely going to change and revolutionize our world. But in the end, both of these technologies, what they are is they're working together to bridge us from a fully physical world to a completely digital world. And our generation of people is living in this sort of crossover world where we're helping bridge from one to the next, but we're not really a part of either.
So you put us in a transitionary phase between the physical world and the cyber world, and blockchain is one of the key pathways to that next generation. How long do you think it'll take for that to fully come out?
I'd say we still need 6 billion people hooked up to the internet, and we need satellite gig bandwidth. So I'd say we're at least 15 years out from later mass adoption. But for people living in essentially virtual reality and spending more time of their day in a digital world than a physical one, I would say we're 5 years out. So I think there will be a small community of people who spend more time in headset than out in the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, it seems like in the early days of the internet, there was a lot of infrastructure work going on. It just takes time to put all the basics into place. Do you think that's true for blockchain, that one of the biggest opportunities is in infrastructure? Or do you think it's really a combination of infrastructure and key applications?
Oh, it's all infrastructure right now. That's all that we can do. I think everyone's there are exciting dApps, the decentralized apps out there, but without solid foundation, it will not scale, and we will be hard pressed to really get past the next what needs to happen for global mass adoption. I think the projects that are Lightning Network is a great example of a solution to the scaling debate for Bitcoin to scale. There are a lot of that type of project going on, in all of the spaces, to be able to help along transaction size, transaction volume, and just move information better on this global decentralized network. Yeah, so my answer is if you're right now, the best place to invest is infrastructure. I think that the early dApps are still super early. They are really exciting, but first infrastructure needs to take hold. Then dApps will be able to get mass market adoption. A lot of it is some of this stuff's going to work on a smaller scale, smaller communities, smaller everything. I'm talking about when do we hit global scale blockchain is when infrastructure is sound and solid and a dApp can be deployed globally. And right now that's just it's global, but it's if more than 500 people jump on at the same time, it clogs the network.
Or certainly, there's more infrastructure to put into place for these systems to really go in a broad way. Seems like that's one of the biggest challenges, especially with fintech, is the ability to scalability of the technology and speed of transaction. And there's just a lot more work that has to go into place before that comes to fruition. In the last minute we have, what have we not covered that we should have?
What have we not covered that we should have? I love everything we've already talked about, but what we should cover is the fact that Ready Player One just came out. On the VR side, that's a huge indicator for mass understanding of virtual reality and how it might change the world. And these two technologies are going to intertwine together along with artificial intelligence in order to create this, what people call the metaverse, but it's really just this digital world that we're going to be spending a lot of time in. And that's really exciting. So like, that's what I think. These technologies are about to collide, and they won't, and the internet, I guess, would be one of them. So the blockchain, internet, AI, and virtual reality. And those are going to enable us to live into these infinite digital realms. Highly recommend reading Ready Player One if you have not. So that's what I wanted to cover. I want to cover the future is really fascinating.
I saw Ready Player One, and it seemed like that's going to be the next big thing. When we run out of Marvel characters to put onto the movie screen, the next thing is we're going to move into the VR world. Do you think that's true?
Well, I hope that I still get to watch a bunch of Marvel superhero movies for the foreseeable future. I think that in virtual reality, a lot of people haven't been able to solve the storytelling in it, because the storytelling is going to be about getting to know characters, and it's going to be less about being immersed in a world for an hour and a half. So I think artificial intelligence and character development are the two of the main elements in getting entertainment to take off in virtual reality. Today, the number one app used in virtual reality is Netflix. So that can give you some semblance of what the future holds, I guess. People want to be entertained. But the reason is that you can create a 70-inch flat screen television on the moon and watch movies, which is awesome. I do believe that there will be entertainment methods with this new infrastructure hardware of virtual reality, but I don't think it's going to look it's not going to look like television. Just like television didn't look like radio. There's always this new element, and this one is an immersive element.
Well, that was always the challenge of interactivity, is how to maintain a story if you're a part of it. It seemed like the dynamic changes there a little bit, and I don't know if we've really quite figured out the right formulas for those yet or not. Although certainly the technology brings a whole new dimension to the table that wasn't there before.
Yeah, they call that the uncanny valley for two things. One is the uncanny valley represents when you visually, Pixar never tried to make people look like humans. And that's why they did toys and all these other things for their first lots of movies. And their humans they never tried to make them look human. And the reason is that there's this uncanny valley thing where your mind goes, that's not a human. And so your brain is already saying this isn't real, rather than just accepting it's not real at the beginning. And then this is doing it on a whole another level of understanding, I guess. So it's lots of uncannies, I guess.
Certainly is. Well, I appreciate your taking time to talk today and hope to have you back again in the future. What's the best way for the audience to get in touch with you?
Yeah, to get in touch with me, my email address is adam@boost.vc. Please, if you're working on anything in the crypto or virtual reality spaces, contact me. Happy to look at white papers, pitch decks, anything.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and hope to have you back again soon.
Thank you for having me.